Which? I'm asking, what did you guys put in place? Between me and whoever's doing the COVID update. Okay, that's fine. Yes? Good afternoon, Namibia and the world, and welcome to another session here at the Government Information Center. Today is the 9th of February 2022. Time is definitely running with us on this year. This afternoon, we are looking at the topic academic transformation from secondary school to vocational education. As we said on Monday, this is a series of 3. On Monday, we had one from secondary to tertiary. Today, we're focusing on vocational training centers. And we have a healthy panel group this afternoon that is going to be helping us to understand the little nitty-gritties and details that we are hoping will be informative to our young people out there who need this type of information to be able to plan ahead and also know what their options are. My name is Shianwa Desire Kahiha, and we welcome you along with my production crew for this show. And as we said, it is a discussion, and you are welcome to add your voice and also pose your questions where necessary to our panelists. And our telephone lines are 061 being the area code. The number itself is 400397. The number here in the studio is 400397, our area code being 061. You can also reach us on our social media platforms. On Facebook, you can find us at Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Republic of Namibia. That is Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Republic of Namibia. And on YouTube, our handle there is MICT Namibia. On YouTube, our handle is MICT Namibia. We will be receiving our COVID update a bit later on in the show, but for now, let us jump right into our conversation. In the studio, we have this afternoon Ms. Angelica Schroeder. She is the rector at the College of the Arts, commonly known as KOTA. We also have Mr. Ralph Buzel. He is the executive director at the Namibian Institute of Mining and Technology, commonly known as NIMT. Next to him, we have Ms. Matilda Shipapo. She is the head of trainee support at the Nyakale Vocational Training Center, and really we are grateful that you made the effort to drive all the way down to be part of this conversation this afternoon. And next to her we have Mr. Yeude Kambuta. He is the vice chairperson at the Association of Private Vocational Training Institutions in Namibia. Good afternoon to all of you, and thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Well, let's kick it off, and we've got the most simplest thing. Mr. Yoda, we would like to know from you, in brief, what is the mandate of your institution?
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. The mandate for the Association of Private Vocational Training Institution, it is aligned to the mandate and the objectives of the National TVET policy and the NTA Act and other national objectives such as Vision 2030 and all the NDPs, NDP 5 and others. It's the association, the association mandate, or rather its objectives and aims, it is established to promote and foster the interest of Namibia private vocational training providers and also to uplift and maintain the provision of relevant and suitable training opportunities to the youth and the other needing to access skills reorientation to meet the changes personal circumstances, and also to enable and maintain consultative network within the association and with the significant external stakeholder such as ministries, authority, association, and other interested groups. Thank you very much.
Okay. Maybe we can also just get a similar feel from the other institutions. Ms. Shipapo, what is, briefly, very briefly, the main thing that drives your institution, that mandate that you stand for?
Our center is Nakayale. I would like to correct the name. Nakayale Vocational Training Center in Umsati region. One of the biggest, I think second biggest region, second to Commerce. Our mandate as a public state-owned vocational training center is to transfer skills, quality skills, which is demand-driven, relevant, so that we also contribute to the purpose of bringing Namibia as a knowledge-based economy. So our mandate is to provide formal skills, formal qualifications that are made formally by NQA. Okay. So that is our mandate.
Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Bizzle?
Yes, the Namibian Institute of Mining Technology, known as NIMT, our mandate is definitely to ensure that we provide quality, accredited vocational education and training to the young Namibian child, but not only the young Namibian child, but the Namibian as a whole, the community, as well as those that are interested from wherever, to ensure that we uplift the quality and to provide the best possible knowledge and experience to the youngsters.
Okay. Ms. Schroeder?
Yes, I think it's important to point out that College of the Arts is also a public-owned institution. It's under the Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture. We are part of the Directorate of Arts. Looking at our mandate, and despite that, the fact that we offer arts education and training, our activities are very much related to the education of students, to train and shape them into the quality artists that they need to become. And we're not just talking about the quality artists, whether you're doing diploma or whether you are doing only subject choice, specific choice that you are. We make sure that our students are quality or are able to be able to do the work. And specific our diploma courses, we ensure that they're entrepreneurial driven, that they walk out of there making sure that at least majority of them are able to work for themselves or work for other companies.
Okay. Well, that is fair enough. I think the focus here with regards to the different mandates is focusing on the individual and making sure that that individual is well equipped to be adopted and absorbed into the marketplace with the best skills that they are being provided by your institutions. Thank you. Then we move on to the question that I think has been a bugger to a lot of people. It is the fact that in the past few years there has been a great shift in and transformation in the Namibian secondary education curriculum. And we would like to find out, how has this transformation affected how you run things or things generally at your institution? Ms. Shipapo, we start with you.
With the new curriculum so far, I will not really speak much about it, but what I could say is that the transformation is a little bit challenging when it comes to the grade 10. We have the grade 10 previous, the old curriculum, and then we have the grade 10s that are on the new curriculum. So usually as an institution, we used to admit, or we do admit, grade 10. So the challenge now that we're experiencing is we are receiving trainees that are coming from school that did not perhaps make or meet the admission requirement for grade 11, so they come with their report card, so which is now quite a challenge. I think that is something we need to inform or educate our learners, that the current grade 10 does not make them qualify to the institution. So that is so far the only challenge. But otherwise, we are still to see how it comes out with the new intake now that we have this year that are now grade 11, and see how they are going to perform. So I think then we'll speak more about perhaps how they are going to perform on the challenges based on that,
Okay. Mr. Buzo?
Yes, from our side, I don't see it as a challenge, as as per se, because since we are aware of the fact that there will be a shift in in the secondary levels, we already start planning and piloting the project. You understand? Since the previous intake, we've already accommodated some of the grade 11s to see whether they fit into the system and what need to be changed so that we can accommodate them. Luckily, for us as an institution, we've got different streams of training. And that is why, as I said, it's not really a challenge for us. It's just a mindset change. The biggest challenge that we have or might have in future is the fact that we will not be able to accommodate these youngsters specifically in the job markets because of the age, you understand? That might be a challenge that we need to overcome, but to admit them into the system, that is definitely not a challenge for us at this moment in time. We will just ensure that we get the mind shift change and see that we can accommodate them.
Okay. Ms. Schroeder, is it similar challenges or something different with yours?
I will not call it as a big challenge, because if you look at the institution, especially existing since 1971 and offering also conservatory level of arts education and training, so we have been dealing previously with that. So in the time that we have to start the diplomas, and then the grade 12 was still in place, and then the grade 11 came in, so we introduced last year music and performing arts foundation courses that will help the students if they do not qualify for the diploma course and they wish to go into the career or choice of being an artist. We say always go back to the foundation certificate course, then we can properly train you in order to be eligible for the diploma course and qualify for that. So not just in that, we have been offering also the Trinity Royal Academy of Music courses, and we have taken it up from grade 1 to grade 8, and then also up to advanced subsidiary level, or I would say diploma level, degree level, and so on. NQF level 8 it can go to. So it has been existing there already. So what we need to do, I think this is also now our first time that we will now get grade 11s in for, and then we can take this challenge forward. But it's easy to fit in. We can always at the college accommodate these students in order for them to qualify to the next level of tuition.
Okay. So basically it's about a mind shift of not just the institutions and how they operate, but it's also a mind shift with regards to the people who are enrolling. As in, you're not going to start exactly where the other person started, but there are options for you that create that bridging opportunity. Mr. Kamputa, as an association, you hear these challenges. Most have actually been handled by the institutions in one way or another. But as an association, what is your role, or what have you been doing as an association to try and assist the different institutions and also the individual on the street to try and mitigate some of these challenges?
Thank you very much. As an association, from our side, I think perhaps I should mention that we welcome the transformation of secondary to vocational education, because it's talking about accessibility and equity.
Yes.
It's a pro-vocational education, I think, with its purpose and intended to increase participation of youth into vocational education, and also aiming at the youth, and also creating that accessibility on the women, especially, and those that are from a previous background. So, to talk about challenge at the moment, I rather think it is too early for us to talk about the challenge, because it has just been implemented. Sometimes it's better to wait when you cross the bridge, and then you'll see what happened.
Yeah.
But at the moment, it's too early for us to make any conclusion. But we welcome the ideology of accessibility and equity, and we support it, and we are here to make sure that it is implemented to fully capacity.
Okay, but
Thank you.
Mr. Kambuta, we stay with you, and this time round we're looking at the issue of financing.
Yeah.
We would like to know from your working with the different institutions, are you aware of whether or not NASFAF
Yes.
finances students or learners that are going into these vocational training institutions?
Yes.
And also from your side as an institution, is there assistance that you give to students that are struggling financially?
Thank you very much.
Facilitate, pardon me, or even facilitate, therefore.
Yes, thank you very much. There is, for funding financial assistance to the students, to the youth, entering the vocational education, there is NASFAF and there is Namibia Training, National Training Levy, under the mandate of NTA. The training levy cover plus minus is 60% of the training to vocational education. So the youth that are entering in the vocational education at our institution, 60% to 70% is their tuition fees is covered by Namibia Training Authority, and some by NASFAF. Yes, there is a challenge with when it comes to NASFAF because of the requirement. Our colleagues at NASFAF, they will say, no, for the youth to be eligible, qualify for funding, you must have a specific point in grade 12. Whereas at our institutions, we are not looking at grade 12. We have our entry requirement. It's more as grade 10.
Yeah.
We're looking at vocational education, someone who have the ability and they be able to perform certain tasks practically. So that also make it challenge for the youth to get funding from NASFAF because of the criteria that are there. But as for NTA, our colleagues at the NTA, they do fund, the training levy do cover, but also a bit challenge because there are a lot of youth out there, and we just hope that there are some other players, role players there, the stakeholders that can come on board and add to the chunk that is at the training levy, so that we take all the student or the youth out of the street.
Exactly.
Thank you so much.
The call is actually a national call to every possible institution to, jump on board and try and help us help the youth.
Yeah.
Basically, I think that's what we're looking into, because I'm sure most of these institutions would love to accommodate as many as possible, but sometimes finances can really be a hindrance, not only for the learner but also for the institution themselves, who are trying to, bridge or make sure that they accommodate, but they also need to pay for their operational costs.
Yeah.
And that brings us to Ms. Shipapo. What is your admission fees? What are some of the challenges, that come with this admission fees? What are some of the challenges that you've also noted in the past 2 years that have been induced by the COVID-19 pandemic? Are there any provisions that you've made as an institution to try and blanket those challenges, especially, in the efforts to try and meet parents halfway?
Thank you. I'll start by the admission requirement, and as well as the fees that we request students to pay. We are state-owned, like I already mentioned, so therefore our fees are actually reasonable. Our registration fees, for example, is just a 750 that we request from a trainee, and partly on the tuition fee, a 50%, which is 950. So altogether is 1,700 that we request the trainees to pay upon registration. Usually we do face a bit of challenge because we are, like I said, we are in the biggest region. So we get some trainees that are not able to pay the 1.7. So it's quite a challenge. So we usually try to see how we can assist trainees in different formats. So some of them, we encourage them to make sure that they at least try and do some other things so that they can bring up the registration fee. The ones that cannot, we usually, as an institution, make plans to waiver for a while to give them time and finish off the remaining fees. So COVID, in reality, it came to shake us a little bit in terms of on how we do things, even at the institution. We learned to, previously, we did not have any online courses. We never thought of having an online classroom. So when COVID came, NVTC is one of the centers that actually implemented online learning successfully, I would say, because we made sure that all the trainees went on Moodle, they were able to access. We provided dongles or Wi-Fi for each trainee. We also made sure that we provide laptops for these trainees so that they are able to access their learning materials when they were on lockdown. So we also, through that stage, we realized that it's actually time for us to get out of our comfort zone and realize the dream of calling students to do distance learning. So right now, this year, we are busy and our application forms are still running, where we have introduced distance learning in ICT and also civil services and national diploma, and as well as wholesale and retail sector. So we have made sure that at least to minimize the numbers of the students on campus, we have to make sure that we can provide distance learning. In fact, it's distance blended learning. So they will be coming for contact classes, perhaps 1 week in a term for them to have contact lessons, and then they go and continue on the online platform. So that is what actually we have made so far.
Okay. Mr. Kamputa, you want to add on to that?
Perhaps if I can just come in and add, in terms of admission and the COVID, the admission entry requirement, vocational education, as I have said it here before, vocational education is a competence-based education system which upskilling the youth. 80% of it is practical. Right. So now you expect someone, a youth that have the ability and physically able, and to be able to have a basic English, to be able to read instruction. Right. You don't, someone with grade 12 and have 46 points, and this one was a grade 10 and have 18 points, but he did English. Then we are teaching them on how to cut potatoes on a desired shape. This person is able to, and this is for hospitality, or how to put up an interlock. As long as a person is able and have physical ability and have basic English, be able to understand the instruction, as that person can enter vocational education. Hence, we are talking about accessibility and equity. Again, to COVID is that when, for example, our colleagues who are doing electrical courses, there's no much conduct of instructors and the trainees, because this person, if a youth is setting up electrical box, there is meters between there is wide open, and so it is 80% of it is practical, and COVID, yes, here and there, but we are able to we are coping.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Mr. Vizzle, financial, what do we call it? Admission fees, pardon me. What is the situation at your institution? What challenges did COVID bring with regards to the financial situation and payments of the students at NIMT?
Yeah, definitely. It's always a challenge when it comes to finances. But we have to work and see how best we can meet government halfway in this specific regard. Yes, we receive 99% of our support from government through the two entities, but our registration fee is $3,000 Namibian per trainee. And due to the fact that NASFAF, the requirement to qualify for a NASFAF support structure being reduced, the income of the parents from 750,000 to 500,000, it's really a big challenge for the parents specifically, because it means many of our youngsters do not qualify because the parents' income is more than 500,000. And that is also one of the reasons why we decided as an institution to see how best we can meet the parents halfway. Previously, a private funded trainee, the cost for a private funded trainee at our institution been $30,000 Namibian dollars. 30,000. So we as a management decided now to lower that cost to 20,000 Namibian dollars to ensure that we meet the parents at least halfway. And that 20,000 include the registration fee, plus then the portion that they would have received from NASFAF. You understand? So we try to make up for that specific portion that they would have received from NASFAF, and that we can accommodate them. That's what we are trying to do at this moment in time, or we will implement it from this intake onwards. Our intake will start on 14th of March for the level 1s. We've got a mandate where we can accommodate per annum 3,600 trainees through the system of funding system of NTA. So we always strive to see that we fulfill to that mandate of 3,600. It's a big challenge because we receive thousands of applications and we can only accommodate plus minus 800 to 900 first-year trainees in the system. We've got 4 campuses across the country, but we can only accommodate due to the fact that, there's no funding available to accommodate more than that, and also the facilities and equipment available. You understand? There are new curriculums, there are new unit standards, but it's a big challenge to ensure that we stay up to the level of the technology, moving of technology in the country and across the world. But as I said, it's also our duty to see how best we can assist government and meet them halfway and make the financial burden a little bit easier.
Right. But now, you made a point earlier on with regards to a cut that you guys put in place to try and assist, where you moved the 30,000 down to 20,000.
Yes.
What are the plans then to try and make up for this gap then that's left?
Yeah, you see, as I said previously, due to the fact that the income of the parents been 750,000, and now it's only 500,000. So you've got lesser youngsters that can being accommodated on the income because of the income of the parents from the NASFAF side. But from NTA side, they will still fund the trainees. They will still fund the trainees. So you have to see that you get the mandate to accommodate the numbers at least. And to make it easier, because these parents do not qualify for the 16,000 of NASFAF, these youngsters. They do not qualify for the 16,000 of NASFAF. And our registration fee is 3,000. So we added 3,000 to the 16,000, and we said, let's make the private entry fee 20,000, just to ensure that we can cover that. And more parents will come forth, or youngsters will come forth and say, I'd rather go for a private trainee because I need to refund NASFAF, the 16,000 at the end of my training. So I rather plan to get the 16,000 myself plus my registration fee, and I pay the 20,000. It's much easier to get into the system. For companies that want to, to get their employees into our system or fund youngsters, they will still pay 30,000. The reason for that is very simple, because companies can claim back from the levy what they've implemented. So at the end of the day, they will be able to claim 18,000 back, and in reality, they will only pay 12,000. That needs to be very clear. Understand? Because companies can always claim back. There are tax benefits, levy benefits, everything. And that is the reason why we decide. Companies will still pay the 30,000. We look at these parents that cannot afford due to, or cannot qualify due to the 500, you know.
So indirectly, it's like you're creating some form of a balanced scale with this particular approach.
That's exactly what we are trying to do.
Something learned new every day. Ms. Schroeder, what is the admission fees at Kota? What challenges did you face in the past 2 years? How did you try and mitigate them? I know finances is a very irky topic to anything or any institution.
Right. It is indeed. It's difficult for our students to pay, and especially with COVID coming down, you know, people have been retrenched, and so it affected, of course, payment to the College of the Arts. But something interesting is that, what we need to consider here first is that College of the Arts, it's of course applied work that we do in the class, but the one side we also have our foot in tertiary. So we're not fully fledged vocational. So, but anyway, we have that special niche that we form to the community. What we've also decided this year, because we always used to ask 2,000, looking at our fees, it ranges from 8,000 to the highest is 12,000. It is very affordable, very. So we used to ask 2,000 for the registration, but as management we decided, no, you know what, let's work on 5%, just to help people, because students are very discouraged, they can't pay the registration at the beginning of the year and so on. So we decided, let's at least ask 5% from, depending on the diploma that you are taking from that fees. So at least with that, I would say, and students, some of the students really were thankful when they've heard about it. But what is important here is that we, as a public-owned institution and being a division, College of the Arts, within the Directorate of Arts, we administratively, we just basically have the same budget as the Directorate of Arts, same pocket, same pot, we are saying. But what we don't have administratively is the funding framework. And we are very much interested in to see if we cannot steer College of the Arts to get that funding framework, where we say for each child, you know, government will pay so much and college have to get the rest. So we are busy working on that structural-wise, just the whole thing about how it needs to change. And that will also help us as the College of the Arts. If we are helped as a College of the Arts, we can also assist the students much better. But for now, it's extremely affordable. And what we tap into a lot is the National Arts Council, the Arts Council, where it's under the Directorate of Arts. I think it's close to 80%, if it's not over, they benefit from the scholarship. I think there was even a time, I think even now, the Arts Council have started to pay their whole fees for the whole year, which is lovely. Before they had like 50%, 75%, and they do consider to pay also the full amount. What is only lacking is we have a lot of people that's coming from the regions, and we are not yet decentralized. So then these students need to look for accommodation, and sometimes with these fees, there are not hostel fees included. And that is very discouraging. Sometimes they have to leave the course because of the hostel fees that are not included. So it's something that one can look at and see, you know, let's include it with that College of the Arts fees, also the hostel fees. We were very privileged to hear that at least 2 students of us were considered by NASFAF, but more needs to be done. It's specifically for arts. We need to consider arts to be very, very, very serious. It's the same as bricklaying, the same as cooking and all these other, it's jobs. You know, we would like to add more to the GDP of the country. That is also our main goal, not just to have people, you know, come and study and leave the institution, but factually, we do have people out there. If you look at television, if you look at radio, it's fully fledged College of Visual Artists, it's College of the Arts students, and so on, we can go. But like I said, National Arts Council, we've been benefiting, NASFAF, we've been benefiting, of course, private people have also been sponsoring our students and so on. But more needs to be done. More needs to be done in the funding, how we framing that funding at the College of the Arts institution. And I think this is the year that we were fully focusing on with the Directorate of Arts.
So it's good to know that as much as COVID brought a lot of challenges along, it has forced everybody, including the different types of institutions that you find, to actually shake up the way that they operate and find other ways to try and mitigate the issues that come around, re-engineer their processes of operation. As we said at the beginning of our show, you are welcome as our viewer to add your voice to the conversation. You can ask questions to the panelists that are in the studio. And currently we have Anytime on the line. He's calling us from Tsumeb. Good afternoon, Anytime. It's good to hear your voice again. Anytime, hello? Hello? Anytime? Okay, it sounds like we've lost Anytime there, but we can get him back on the line and he can join the conversation. We get back to our panelists, and Mr. Kambuta, you want to add something?
Perhaps I can add to what alluded to in terms of funding framework. But before that, one is have an appetite of asking, there's a fundamental question to say, but why is there is challenge, financial challenge to allow youth to enter the vocational education? They want to enter, but they cannot. Vocational education, TVET, is expensive, right? Even though the government have come up with an intervention to make TVET accessible to everyone through national training levy, through NASFAV, through Social Security Development Fund, but still it's very challenging for the youth to enter the TVET because it's expensive. TVET is very expensive. Parents cannot afford to pay the tuition fees. It's also because of a historical background that people are not able to do it, and also contribution of COVID, that a number of them have been retrenched. So, but what are we going to do? The government have made this possible for the youth to enter the TVET system, but where are the stakeholders? Where are the private companies to come in and say, okay, College of Art, we are sponsoring 10 or 20 students from level 1 to level 4. MICT, it's just a private company that is just coming on. There are some, yes, but not a lot. But they are out there enjoying the fruit of independence and getting all tenders, but they are not coming in to assist the youth. So how do we meet? We must meet also. They must plow back to the community through that. Thank you so much.
Before we continue, I would also like to remind you of our social media platforms that we have. On Facebook, you can find us at Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Republic of Namibia. Facebook, you can find us at Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Republic of Namibia. And our YouTube channel, the handle there is MICT Namibia. That is on YouTube. Our handle is MICT Namibia. Now, getting back to the discussion here with the panelists, I would like to actually know, before we get to that, we've got a caller on the line. That is Silas calling us this afternoon. Good afternoon, Silas. Welcome to the conversation. How are you?
Yes, my darling, good afternoon, and good afternoon to your guests, and good afternoon to the listeners. Yes, my dear comrade friends, you speak about funds and for education kids and our dear students in this country. I listening to all your guests, and they are mostly concerning on funds. Funds. Money is not enough all the time. I just count over the registration fees that most of these vocational or university are asking 3,000 per person. I made a mathematics just now of 5,000 students, how much it gives you. It gives you for 45 million Namibian dollars. And this is just for one region, which is maybe for commerce, maybe more than that, the students. Let's say the whole 14 regions, and many vocational and the institutions are there. You are all the time crying for money. My question is, what are you doing with after collecting all this money from all the vocational students, whether being 2 years, whether the first year, or whether being 3 years, colleges, whatever it is. Second questions I have is, when these kids, as you say, you are not going to refund them most of this money back that you are borrowing them. The danger comes here. Most of these people do not have job. How are you going to help them to pay back this money? Because what we are experiencing is, and most of the time, their kids are, families are complaining that they are being undergoing through by maybe bank is suspended, or maybe their documents are not being functioned properly because they put it on narrow because they cannot afford to pay back, and the bank will be suspend that person not to be whatever it is the case. And their investigations is even the Home Affairs are also targeting some of these people because the schools, the universities are going through by this type of policies. When you register your kid, as you say, you register the kid by the name of that particular parent. Now, if this parent is not get a job, maybe he was working and then found himself out of job, why his name is already in the system over this kid or the girl, how are you going to solve this type of problems when they will occur in the future? It can be 10 years, it can be 15 years, it can be whatever years, because later on is when these things will come back. You're going to go to the school, and end of the day, you work in the banks, and then you have paid back, or you cannot able to pay back. So some of these issues has to be very, very looked over and how to envelop this situation. Then the last point I have, it talks about government not to be assisting, or maybe they assist them in few whatever. We have the Minister of Education and the Minister of Higher Education and other directive education system in this country. My question is, how they themselves as organizations, as a government organization, institutions, as organizations which representing children, families, how really concerned are you for these children in the future when they go out of school? When they're in school, how are you really concerned the future of them? Because practically you give person education, you need to also help him after he go out of school. So the system of education needs to be...
that you're asking basically is, as institutions, do they have assistance after graduation? Is there some type of assistance that they give to the students after they have graduated from these different institutions?
Very good. So there must be a system of what you can do is all parents in the name of the education system, because the reason why those kids are standing now in the whatever out of job is because we don't have funds that will collect, and when this kid is finished, he can able to do whatever business, whatever things he can do in future. So this is what we are saying.
I think we've gotten your questions here.
Thank you very much, my darling sister, and all the blessings.
Yes,
keep it
thank
up.
you.
Okay, bye.
Okay. So I think Silas's last question there is basically the mitigation of unemployment after a graduate has gone through the program at the different institutions. We have other questions with regards to what do you do with the money that you collect from the fees that are paid by the students, and also how are you helping them with regards to paying back? I think the second and the last question marry into each other. Ensuring or assisting to ensure that these graduates are employed in order for them to have means for them to repay their loans. Who would like to take the first question with regards to where does the admission fees and monies paid to the institution, where does that money go?
All right.
Before I allow you to answer that, sorry, we've got a caller on the line. Mr. Anytime from Tumip.
Yes, good afternoon, Madam Moderator. How are you?
Yes, I'm very well. Thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you. I'll be very brief. I won't take much time.
Yes, please. Thank
It's good that we are talking about vocational education.
you. Yes.
And just only to narrate on what I've been proposing to the Ministry of Education, including these vocational subjects, a curriculum to start at the earliest grades. The early grades, like maybe from senior primary phase, these learners, they should go along until grade 12. Now, when I saw the topic, academic transformation from secondary to vocational education. Now, what transformation? I thought when I don't know whether the guests in the studio they don't see the need. Do they really see the need of introducing the vocational subject in the education whatever curriculum from primary level, senior primary level, throughout to secondary, so that when this might be like the bridging, the gap to the bridging that takes them to, vocational.
Yes, okay.
Not just to start from grade 2, now they go and start seeing these things for the first time, it's new things for them.
Okay.
That's the first thing that and even on People's Parliament have been raising this one, that the Minister of Education should take into account the importance of introducing these vocational subjects at the primary level there, especially from grade 4 up to grade 12.
Okay.
Like guest today indicated that he indicated something like how even to cut I don't know whether it was a pot-up, something like that. This entails all on home economics.
Okay.
Yes. And the other things like, let me bring in these things of creating some objects from, these like a can, wires. You see our colleagues from Zimbabwe, how they survive. So these things they did. Yes.
If we understood you correctly, your question is basically, what is the opinion of the different institutions that we have in studio right now with regards to your suggestion
the question to them, don't they see the need of the Ministry of Education introducing these vocational subjects at the senior primary phase to go throughout up to grade 12?
Okay.
Question number 2, Madam Moderator. I want to find out, are the courses that are offered in vocational countrywide or same? Because you will find that at the Valombola Vocational Training Center, they have this is electrical engineering. While in Zambezi Vocational Training Center, we might not get that. Now, how do they go on the same path?
Okay.
Others have electrical engineering, refrigeration, courses, all those. But in other vocational, they are not there. Can we look at the balance there?
Okay.
How do they do that?
So basically, are the subjects at vocational trainings evenly distributed across the country, or are they just area specific? Thank you very much, Mr. Anytime, for your call this afternoon. I will definitely pose or direct these questions to the panelists in the studio.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator.
Yes, Mr. Basil, maybe you can tackle the questions that Sila brought on, and then we move on to Mr. Anytime's questions.
All right. Can we just recall the questions again?
The question basically that Sila was asking is, there is admission fees that tuition fees, pardon me, that are always paid by the learners or students when they are at these institutions. What
registration fees.
Registration fees, yes.
Okay. Yes, of course. Definitely, we have to understand. Vocational education and training is not cheap. We are talking about material on a daily basis. We are talking about power supply, electrical usage, water. A lot of expenses on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And from our experience, for the last 2 years during the COVID pandemic, material cost double and even triple up. And we are still receiving the same funding. And we are still on the same registration fees. If you look at the center, I'm talking about the average vocational training center. Your electricity per month is not less than 150,000 to run a vocational training center. We are talking about electricity only. We are not talking about water supplies. We are not talking about any other consumables and material cost. You know, and yes, some of us, we are private institutions like MICT. We do not receive a capital budget from government. We have to make ends meet with what we get, you know, the funding from the institutions through the trainees. That is the funding that we are using to pay salaries, benefits of the staff, consumables, materials, everything. Then we are talking about the registration fee. That's too much. The registration fees that we don't know what people are doing, institutions are doing with the registration fees. You know, if you look in depth in the maintenance of these centers, it's a lot of money involved only in maintaining the centers. We are not even talking about, you know, the needs of the trainees. They are sometimes we've got, you know, psychological needs that you also have to target, and you also have to ensure that the trainees get you know, the necessary attention. So, honestly speaking, this is not academics, where you step in, walk into a classroom, and you walk out and you've got your material. You have to buy material constantly on a daily basis to ensure, because as said by my colleague in the panel, this is 80% and more practical implications. And that is unfortunately costly.
Wow.
It's unfortunately costly.
The shared sentiment here when I'm observing my panelists here is the fact that what you receive, as much as it sounds a lot to somebody else, is not even enough to cover what it is that you do on an operational basis. And I think at the same time, we need to understand that there are people working in these institutions, besides your operational costs with regards to the maintenance of a place. These institutions are probably also fighting to make sure that they don't have to retrench their staff members at the same time. So I think, Sila, your question has been answered, that as much as it sounds a lot, it's not always enough. And also costs, lively costs keep going up. It's a fight that is being fought across all sectors, including the education sector. I think in the interest of time, unfortunately, as I said, we never have enough time at these sessions. There was one last question that Anytime asked that is quite important, and I would like Ms. Schroeder to answer this, and maybe also the second one, Ms. Shipapo, to give us also, or enlighten us. The first question looked at the inclusion of TVET subjects or vocational training subjects from senior primary levels to allow for that smooth transitioning for every student who is interested in TVET courses. And then the second question was with regards to subjects in vocational training centers. Are they the same or supposed to be the same across the country, or are they regional, region or quota specific per the specific VTC. Ms. Schroeder, maybe you can start with you.
Yes, we can actually start in grade 0. If it's not pre-primary, we can already start there, because it's the foundation. Arts is the foundation of anything what we want to do, whether we want to do bricklaying, or I always refer to bricklaying, or any other vocational training. It's the foundation. It is very, very close to our heart. We see that arts needs to be taught in schools, whether it's primary or secondary. Take it from primary so that there can be a talent management worked out. Primary into secondary, into the College of the Arts. I specifically now mention your College of the Arts. Then there is a clear-cut way in what we are developing. Now at the moment there's a mismatch. We have new learners, new intakes coming. Some of them haven't done any arts, but they are very much passionate about it, and they don't have the relevant experience. But what is important for us is that schools need to be looked more and more into it. Visual arts, I know, is very well presented up to secondary level. Primary, I think it's not lower, but secondary primary into secondary school. That is very, very well presented. They have also introduced photography, which is nice, which is now close to our heart for new media. But we need much more work into that. We need to work much more with our own education schools or education ministry to say that arts need to be more basically relevant in the schools. But not except for being relevant, there needs to be a curriculum that's of standard.
Yeah.
If the curriculum is also not of standard, then it cannot basically gel in with what we have to offer. So those are the things that we need to look up, that we need to help our country in getting really the best out of this.
Okay. It's a pity we're running out of time, so we're rushing through these answers, and we would like Ms. Shipapo to also just give us a highlight on the question that was posed with regards to the different subjects at the different VTCs.
Okay, I would like to perhaps maybe, I don't know whether they meant qualifications or subjects. I think they meant qualifications.
Subjects that are being offered. Is it subjects
Trades.
that are being
I think they
offered?
meant trades, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So VTCs are at liberty sometimes to, in their own area, to find out the needs in the market, what it is that they need to provide that is relevant.
Yeah.
So I would like to go to speak in the hub where I am. I am part of the hub, or Nakayale VTC is part of the hub, which is Valumbola and the Nana. So we have identified through the GIZ support that we need to come up with specializations.
Okay.
So as a VTC, Nakayale is going to specialize in ICT, or is specialized in ICT and electrical engineering. And then Valumbola is going to specialize in mechatronics.
Okay.
And Enana is going to specialize in civil. So we make sure that what we are bringing on board is what people are looking for. So, and we also don't want to duplicate a lot of trades. If Valumbola has automake, then we should have automake and Enana automake. So we should bring in different areas, and also we have to make sure that if Valumbola is offering perhaps from level 1 to level 2, then Nakayale, level 1 to perhaps 3, then Nakayale can take those kids on board, or the trainees on board, and come and do level 5 and become electrical engineers.
So basically we're looking at trying to cluster the different type of trades, also looking into the fact that area needs also play a role.
Yes.
Basically. Okay. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. This is a topic that is near to many people's hearts because of the fact that a lot of our learners tend to fall out and fall through the cracks because of less or little attention that is given to the vocational training or TVET programs. So hopefully, as the years go on, we will be able to see more of the attention and focus being given onto this type of employment creation through these TVET programs. Unfortunately, this is where we come to the end of the sessions. We would like to say thank you very much to you as our viewer for taking the time out to listen and watch and ask the questions that you had. We would also like to say thank you very much to the panelists who availed themselves to be able to give us information into this particular topic. From myself, Shianua Desire Kahiha, and my production crew, we would like to say thank you and bye-bye. Okay, Rakim, can we move now? Because we're standing like statues here. Thank you. Sound, guys.